talking about SNL, the history, the mysteries, and all the hot impressions in between, breaking down all the numbers as well. In your favorite sketches with special guests, it's all on the Saturday Night Network.
Welcome on in, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network for another edition of our Monday Night Roundtable, here to talk about the Nikki Glaser and Sombr episode of Saturday Night Live, Season 51, Episode 5. My name is Jon Schneider from the SNL. Very happy to be with you on this Monday night to talk about a very fun episode, a long time coming for Nikki to join the show, and I'm happy to discuss her first appearance on SNL with a great panel and a great chat. Of course, we are here as a presentation of latenighter.com. And now let's bring in who we got on the show here tonight. First up, Halle Dowden-Parrott is here. Halle, how are you?
I'm doing good, John. This was such a fun episode, and this is such a fun group of people to break it down with, so I'm really pumped to get into it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this tonight. We have a lot of really great sketches to talk about. Joining us as well for the first time in season 51 is Jack Roskopp. Jack, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. It's been a while, and I'm really excited to talk about Nikki Glaser because she's one of my faves. So yeah, excited.
All right. Well, we will get right to that. And joining us last but not least is the incredible TJ Randolph. TJ, how are you?
John, I'm happy to put some respect on Nikki Glaser's name today because she deserves it. I've been a big fan of her since I got into like Rachel Feinstein and Amy Schumer back in like the early 2010s. So was just so hyped to see this, that she's kind of being recognized on like, you know, the level beyond a comedian, like kind of that like star level that I think she's just really kind of grown into. So like I'm joyous to be here to talk about Nikki Glaser. And I'm also waiting to wonder how many Glazers I already know her counters happened to this woman over the span of the promotion of this episode. So really just decided to dive into everything.
Yes, especially last week after everyone told me that I was glazing Ashley Padilla. So excited to get some more glazing tonight as we talk about the great Nikki Glaser. But yeah, let's dive right in.
I don't like that I looked you in the eye when you said it.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Nikki Glaser seriously, because I have been hearing her name as a potential hosting candidate for a while. It feels like this has been years in the making. Once we had the Tom Brady roast and she sort of became even more mainstream, I felt like this was absolutely inevitable, and she finally does come to the show here. So Halle, how did you feel when you found out that Nikki Glaser was booked to host Saturday Night Live?
I was so excited. As everyone on this panel has said, I love Nikki Glaser, and it really felt like it was a type of thing that had been rumored every single time that they would announce a new batch of hosts. I would hear someone be like, I hear Nikki Glaser's going to host. I hear this. Just off in the distance, people were always theorizing that it was going to happen. And I was kind of like, oh my goodness, wait, we actually got it. We all put our heads together and manifested this after years of saying it was overdue and was going to happen. And also I know that she has connections with some cast members, so I was really curious to see how that would play out in the episode, which I'll get into a bit later. But I was just super pumped to see her first hosting gig, and it lived up to my hype after so long of manifesting.
Jack, I got a great message from you when it was announced that Nikki was going to be hosting the show. And you're like, I have to be on this roundtable to talk about this one. Why is that? What is your experience with Nikki?
I mean, I've just been a fan for so long. I've seen her do stand-up. I live in the Detroit area, and she's come here, and I've seen her live, and she's just so fun. You know, she podcasts a lot herself too. But I mean, yeah, like I've been a fan. I forgot who said it. Of her since like sort of Inside Amy Schumer. She kind of came up through that way. And like my first reaction was just like, finally, like, I don't know. I feel like SNL, there was a stand-up who hosted last season, and I feel like maybe I said on the podcast, I was like, we haven't really had like a woman stand-up in a while host the show. And so I guess Quinta Brunson kind of counts because she does stand-up. But someone who's just known for, I mean, that's what Nikki's known for, is being stand-up. And then like when she did the Golden Globes this past year, I was like, oh, she's for sure going to host SNL pretty soon. So I was really excited that it happened. It was one of those like finally kind of moments.
Yeah, you definitely can count Quinta. I would say that sort of the last, even traditional stand-up, like Iowa Debris, sort of.
Yeah, but it's like she's
Schumer?
almost more of the bear, you know, like Is it like,
Right.
Yeah.
and Amy Schumer was maybe the last, or like, I mean, Sarah Silverman, that was a long time ago too. She
It was a
hosted, but
while
I
ago.
really can't think of any anymore. And I feel like there are so many who should get the opportunity to. So,
Yeah, I mean, we put up the graphic earlier this week of the women SNL stand-up hosts, and those include, going back to previous to what we just mentioned, Lily Tomlin the first, and then Joan Rivers, Roseanne, Rosie O'Donnell, Ellen DeGeneres. Most of whom when you go to like Roseanne, Rosie, and Ellen, like also known for other things at the time.
mhm.
So it really is like between Amy Schumer and like Joan Rivers, like we went a long time without getting female stand up to host this show. And I think that with Nikki and what she did on the show this weekend, it is a well that they should continue to go back to. I think that it's like something they don't hit on enough of. Obviously, the disparity between men and women hosts in the history of the show is large, regardless of whether they're stand ups or not. But I think it's a well that is really successful, TJ, and I'm glad that they booked Nikki.
No, I'm glad that they booked her as well. And it even makes me start to think about, because I think a lot of us are big comedy nerds. Like, this is the perfect audience for that. It makes me think about, like, other like female, like sketch led shows compared to male sketch led shows, where the fact that, what is it, like 8 male stand ups to like 2 female comics is maybe like the ratio that's just like out there. Like, I was trying to think of like other female led like sketch shows. And Nikki's show wasn't even a sketch show, but she did Not Safe with Nikki Glaser on Comedy Central. That was more variety daily show, like commentary, like bits and remotes, whereas Amy did the more traditional. You could say Elijah Schlesinger probably was like the most recent, like technically speaking. But it is kind of fascinating to kind of think about her, because the thing I love about Nikki is that Nikki's kind of in that camp of like just comics. Like, I know she's done some sketch stuff on Inside Amy Schumer, but like I think about her like a Rachel Feinstein, where like when you really look at like Nikki's oeuvre, it's predominantly like stand up or like commentary, late night show appearances, hosting gigs, versus like being like, she is an actress, but like being an actress, so similar to like Nick Bargatze. Like Nate Bargatze, you're not going to see him acting in a ton, maybe like some stuff now, but I think that's kind of a fun element to her, is that she's almost a pure stand up, like almost. So I think that's just kind of a nice like angle of her like coming in, that she's not somebody you're going to watch in like sketches. So I was interested to kind of see her in a format that she isn't always in. So it got me excited, on top of like, matter of fact, I was so excited for this. I went and bought Nikki's show, Not Safe with Nikki Glaser, on Amazon, which I watched it when it aired, but I was just so excited now for students' commentary that I went and bought it and was like, let me just kind of remember the earlier Nikki that I used to listen to on Pandora clips and albums, and that like did the show, and like just kind of watched her career grow as her spray tan got darker. Like, just, it was been a fascinating journey to see, and just, man, what a joyous career. Like, what a fun comedian. So this was just a delight. Looking forward to seeing this announcement. And also, John, I also messaged you and told you I wanted to be on that coverage. So I'm glad to know, Jack, that I wasn't the only
Right,
person.
but I listen to Jack whenever he asks me for something. I don't always listen to you, so that's why I brought it up. But
Thanks for that. Really appreciate that.
but but honestly, I was really excited about this. I do think, as I mentioned, the Brady roast was a huge thing. I mean, there's like a lot of fans of SNL that are also fans of stand up, who have lists of people that they would love to see host the show. But when she became so mainstream on that Netflix special, and she was the one that crushed it that night that everybody was talking about, I really felt like it just changed the game for her, despite how successful her career was up until that point. And for me, I think that stand-ups are so crucial to a Saturday Night Live season. If you go back to all of the seasons that people really enjoyed, we always get like, at least a couple of really good ones. And I do think that, we haven't gotten enough in the last few years. I think that some of the most successful hosts of the last decade, tend to lean more stand up, where we got Mulaney, like as a great example, Bargatze obviously was one in the last couple of years that really made a mark for himself. Bill Burr, they brought back, Shane Gillis, they brought back. I think that it's a well that I wouldn't say every week I would love it, but I think probably the right number for me is like, if you can give me 4 stand up hosted episodes a season, I think that that's what I would enjoy seeing in this show, going back all the way to the first season of the show, where we had 3 stand-up hosts out of the first 7. So like I think that is something I would like to see more of. Halle, for you, what is the right amount of stand-ups you think you would like to see in an SNL season?
That's a good question. I feel like I might skew a bit higher than the average person because as I think a lot of us are here, am a comedy dork. So I am very deeply invested in stand-ups and I follow them so closely. Um, but I think like I feel like if we can get one every couple months or so at least, scattered here and there throughout the season, that maybe even more frequently than that, but I really enjoy having pretty consistently. I don't like it when there's too many too close to each other because I really like having a really random assortment of hosts. But I like to bring them in on a regular basis every couple months or so throughout the season.
And the thing for me, Jack, is like I feel like stand-ups are way better suited to hosting this show than being in the cast. I think that obviously Weekend Update's a great place for a stand-up, but unless you're extremely successful, they're not going to put you on every week or every run. So you're sort of stuck in the middle of trying to figure out how to get in sketches as a stand-up. But when you're there hosting the show, obviously you get your monologue, you get to go out there for almost 10 minutes, and then you find your way into the show. And I think that's probably a more natural format for someone like a stand-up on Saturday Night Live. How do you feel about it? And where do you see yourself if you were planning out a season? How many stand-up hosts would you like to see?
That's an interesting thought. I've never like actually thought about that, you know. But even like I guess now that I'm thinking back of just like my SNL like knowledge and stuff, like there's people like Sarah Silverman who didn't do really well, who was a stand-up, or like Jeanine Garofalo was like a stand-up and came into SNL and only stayed for a season. So yeah, that could be something. But then it's like you have like somebody like Pete Davidson who, you know, was a stand-up and like crushed on Weekend Update all the time, but he was like, you know, so talented in that way that he did that and just did a Weekend Update this week.
I think he's the exception though, Jack.
Right, yeah, totally, yeah. But I would enjoy having more stand-ups on the show too. I think a lot of it depends on like, you know, SNL is a huge marketing thing for NBC, and so it's like, does a stand-up have to meet a certain qualification of fame to be able to get a coveted spot as a host, right? And I think like once Nikki Glaser did the roast of Tom Brady and like hosted the Golden Globes, I think she kind of like maybe hit that threshold. But I think of somebody like Hannah Einbinder, like maybe she could be next, you know, because she just won an Emmy for Hacks. She obviously has a connection with her mom being there. So I would love to see somebody like her host eventually. But I sort of feel like maybe stand-ups have a harder hill to climb to get to host because you sort of have to like be maybe doing really large theaters or arenas, you know, like sort of on your tour and things like that.
Yeah, and I don't typically advocate for hosts, TJ, but I would love to see Hannah host the 1000th episode of the show.
That'd be cool.
In January. That's the one that I think is the great spot. But yeah, please go ahead and comment on this whole discussion.
I love like Jack's note specifically to like the threshold of fame because it does feel weirdly like that. I think back to my favorite example of this is because I think I was kind of coming up in like as a teenager in college when Kevin Hart was coming up before he was doing an annoying amount of DraftKings ads that I'm seeing, even though I don't gamble. Like, you know, I remember when he was, you know, the young comic from Philly who was doing those handful of Comedy Central specials, I'm a Grown Little Man, or like, and just making people cut up. And then we just, his stand-up special started to turn into movie events in the arena tour. Like, and like Kevin Hart, like that was a fun journey to watch. And like, he's kind of somebody that is like in that same oeuvre of like, there was a certain point where Kevin Hart hit a threshold of fame or like notoriety, or you know that he's going to get butts in seats. Like if he's going to be touring the country, he's going to be playing to more people than just people in LA, people in New York City. He's going to be playing all across the states or maybe even all across the globe. And I think Jack said it perfectly, like that level up to the Golden Globes. I am trying to think, was Bargatze on an arena tour when he was brought in? Like, was there a thing that like, because that was before he hosted the Emmys. I know that SNL got him the Emmys, but I'm trying to remember if that was a similar thing. Like he was basically doing that level of like, you know, that thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people will come to see this person versus, let's say, like a I don't know, God, I can't remember the name, but there's a comic who had the show Crashing on HBO. His name's Pete, and I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But very funny comic. did this HBO series with Judd Apatow. Great show if you're a big comedy nerd because you see comedy cameos. But you got to wonder, even Crashing was a great show for comedy dorks, but was it a big enough event like an Abbott Elementary to have an SNL bring them? So even though SNL feels like this nice little level up for people, in a way it is a level up for Nikki, it still is kind of treating most of the people in like you still need to have had like one big thing, like a Regé-Jean Page or Kim Kardashian. Like you still need to have had something for us to bring you to our stage, even though it will help elevate you, which I think is kind of just like a fun thought that like you can't just be a rising star. You have to already kind of be a star.
Pete Holmes, by the way, thanks to chat.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm gonna kill myself for forgetting that. Like,
please don't.
I was thinking of his face.
But yeah, I will also ask you guys about one thing about Nikki Glaser that I was a little bit surprised about. So she does this monologue that we got here on the show. And I thought it was really great. I think she covered a lot of topics in a short amount of time. Typical social media backlash for her going too far in different directions. But overall, I thought she was really strong on here. But I was pretty surprised, despite there being a Wednesday promo where she sort of did this with a few cast members, that she didn't roast anybody. I know that's not necessarily like her thing. She does stand up. She happened to be on a roast. But I think that given what happened with Brady and how popular that was last year, I'm surprised she didn't go all Don Rickles on the audience, or at least on some cast members at that moment. I just think that like it was really cool to get a long stand-up set. But I would have thought that maybe they could have tweaked the format slightly where she suddenly went from stand-up into a bit of a roast. Was anyone here on the panel surprised as well?
No, like not at all. Because if you watch, like I've seen every special she's ever done, listen to her albums, even listen to plenty of interviews. And I know people who listen to her podcast, which I don't listen to a lot, but I've heard her comment on this, which is that like trying to like insult people isn't really who she is. She's fucking great at it, but she's not a Jeff Ross. Like she did that roast because she was paid to do so and had permission and consent from the other people to do it. But Nikki, at her core, doesn't come across as a person who's a mean-spirited. And if you've noticed, her stand-up as it's evolved, as she's grown, has really taken a format of she really goes in on herself. And she's great at it. Like that's where she's going to focus her attention. That's what she'll have consent to do. She can make jokes about her boyfriend because she clears them with a boyfriend. But from what I've heard her talk in interviews, she is that more considerate person. Just I think, as you get older, that's just who you are. So when she wasn't roasting people, that didn't shock me in the slightest, because like I don't think she would have felt comfortable herself. And I would have heard a podcast interview like 6 months later, like, yeah, when I did that SNL thing, I just didn't know how I felt about doing that. Like, no, I think she did excellently, like as the comedian that she is.
But the big question is, did she clear those jokes with her nephew? With that, we won't know.
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, a little bit of the nephew's going to come out with a Variety article.
We'll see what happens there. Jack, you raised your hand. You were also surprised.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that there wasn't like a little, I don't know, just like going down the line and roasting everybody. Like I think it would have been fun, and I would have enjoyed it. Because she's also hilarious at like, I think she did the roast of Alec Baldwin. She did my favorite joke is when she told Ann Coulter that like a Mexican was gonna dig her grave and like was gonna make him happy. Like it was just like I was just shocked that people were so upset about the things she said, because I'm like, she has gone in on these Comedy Central roasts before. But yeah, I don't know. I think she's so funny at them. So I would have liked to have seen it, but like I think her whole monologue, she felt really nervous at first, but I think like when she kind of got into it, I was really, really enjoying it. I could have like listened to 5 more minutes of her doing stand-up, honestly.
I would agree. All right, let's dive into the cold open that we saw here this week before we get into the rest of the show, where the cold open was all about the Oval Office collapse. We saw Marcelo as Dr. Oz, Mikey as the CEO David Ricks, Dismukes as RFK Jr. for the first time, which was a Baldwin and Ham role that happened throughout season 50. Jeremy Colhane plays the guy who fainted, and then we get Trump coming in to talk about the guy who fainted.
A guy collapsing in the Oval Office. Who'd have thought it'd be not me? No!
Yes, sorry. Sound clip ran there, but yes.
Wait a minute, that wasn't in that one.
that ran a little long. Sorry, I gotta fix something there. But yes, we'll fix it in post. I really was interested to see what they were going to do this week and if they were going to cover this just bizarre moment that happened in the Oval Office as we saw just this guy faint and this crazy picture of Trump just being like wanting to destroy himself for standing there and being in that moment while all of this is happening behind him. I'm so curious, Halle, how you felt about the Trump cold open of the week.
I feel pretty much about it the way I feel about most Trump cold opens at this point in my life. But I do appreciate this one because the moment that it is based in, they really dug into it. They didn't have to go very far with it. The moment that this originated from, like you said, was already so ridiculous. Trump just standing around watching this guy on the ground. I loved the line where they had James Austin Johnson refer to when someone drops something and you do the like fake bend over, like you're going to pick it up, but you're not really going to help them. So I thought it was really funny to kind of call out his lack of helpfulness in the moment in that way. And I do appreciate that what I feel like is pretty rare, the action was still happening around him and he did not freeze the scene. I was pleasantly surprised by that. Still got to see them running around tending to Jeremy on the ground. I cannot talk about this cold open without applauding what everyone I saw on Twitter saying. The neck prosthetic was crazy this week. The Trump neck.
Okay, so that wasn't just me.
Insane.
No, it was
I
very
have to give
vaginal.
a shout out to the neck in this cold open.
Yeah.
I'll end on that note.
I think it was that time cover thing, the one that he had really replaced, where he had that neck and it was just a neck you'll never forget. But yeah, sure. I thought that his reaction to what was happening was really funny.
They got the legs up. That means dead in cartoon.
So,
How did I miss that?
But the thing is that like on Saturday, I was a little like, oh, okay, like was there anything we could have done differently, because I am so used to seeing basically him go on these rants, and it just seems like it's something that they're going to do every week. And I'll say that on my second watch of this cold open, I actually felt better about it within the context of the rest of the episode, because this was an episode that we'll talk about that really let James spread his wings. So I almost give them the free pass of like, here's the layup that you're going to take at the start of the show, knowing that you're about to hit some really hard shots later on. So Jack, how did you feel about this cold open?
I didn't like it. I sort of feel like maybe like everyone sort of feels like the Trump fatigue, and I didn't really even like pay attention to this like situation like happening last week or whenever. I don't even know if it was this weekend or this week. I've just been a little checked out from all of that because it's all so awful. So it's hard for me to like want to pay attention in these cold opens with Trump, I guess. But I will say, when I watched it again today for the second time, like you, John, I felt a little bit better about it, and I did like laugh out loud a few times. But like the first time I watched it, I was like just sort of just straight faced watching it and just like, you know. But I did like it on a second rewatch. But I hope that they can figure something out, because like cold opens are so fun, and I don't know. I know that I'm not the only person who feels this way, and I know some people disagree, but I don't know. It was just, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I do wonder if that if I had to tweak slightly, if there is something where he could have been reacting more to people around him. I just think that I was really praising last week what they did with the Property Brothers, and then going back to the White POTUS, even him going on the Snack Homies podcast a couple weeks ago. Like, I think those are really good places for James as Trump. I think that where we run into monotony is him talking directly to camera consistently week after week. I think that those moments should be saved for the special times when you're going to get really meta, that can really only happen once in a while on the show before they get tiresome. I think that we're just going to that well too much, where I would like to see him be talking to the Dr. Oz and the RFK Jr. in this sketch and playing off of them, because I think that would give us more things to really enjoy in this sketch. TJ, your thoughts on this cold open?
John, I agree a lot, specifically on your observation about format, because I think I had a moment when I was watching this. I hit a moment where I was watching it, and I was like, oh shoot, I think just like what happened in like 2017 when Alec was doing the Trump, like it was great for the first few months, and then there was a point where it just you hit a point and you were just wanted to turn the volume down. I think I hit my breaking point with like the not JAJ's Trump. I can go ahead and say I don't think it's that, because that Snack Homies thing that did crack me up. Like the White POTUS thing. Like there's been stuff where they're putting him in things not in the cold open and they're playing with it. They're actually making him part of a sketch rather than telling me why is JJ. By the way, love JJ, but like why is he doing a monologue before we're getting a monologue? Like that's what it's kind of turning into a little bit, and it feels like it's getting a little like a hat on a hat. So I'm liking these. God, Snack Homies, that made me cut the fuck up. That was so funny to me, because I just didn't expect it. But these Twitch Trump openings where it's freeze frame cut, like it was really cute the first time. But I'm now I think it's just I need to see you keep like iterating, like you're putting them in the rest of the show. So I think it just kind of hit that stall point for me as well. I will give it to him though. The delivery of all the planes are gone. I don't know if you had that clip, John, but I did thoroughly love that delivery. I thought it was fantastic.
I didn't clip that one, but
Okay.
my last one that I didn't play was this one.
If you're going to take him to get an MRI, here, use this. This is my punch card.
Yeah. But here's the thing I think we can all appreciate about this. A couple of things. Guys, this was about 4 minutes. This was a fast political cold open. I looked at my watch when the show was airing. It was 11:34 when we started getting the theme song of the saxophone where somebody's being carried out of the building. This I loved. And granted, part of me was like, oh, snap. Have they learned from Chappelle? Have they learned when they have a stand up? Like, keep it short. Like, let's keep it short so we know that monologue is going to run long. I think her monologue was at least 8 minutes, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think it was like 8:40 what I got.
Yeah. So I love the fact that this was like short. And I think it made it not great as much as it could have. Two other things. One, I think JJ is racking up those live from New York's. Really, I know there's that stat somewhere, but he's starting to rack them up. And two, John, I loved your note about JJ throughout the episode, which was a little undercover. This was a great utility episode for him. Like I felt like his like 4 or 5 roles were like this was a great showcase episode for JJ. And so I'm just glad this was short, but I'm glad I'm not tired of him. I just am tired of the format. And I think that's still saying something because it's not wearing out its welcome like Alec was.
This was definitely an interesting paced episode. We had a shorter cold open, naturally a longer monologue. We had a shorter weekend update this week where I believe Mike said on X that this was the first update under 10 minutes in like since like the beginning of season 50 or something like that, or maybe it was even the season before, but he'll talk about that on Wednesday, I'm sure. It was an interestingly paced episode, so much so that you would think with a longer monologue we'd actually get less segments, but I believe we got 1 extra segment in the show this week compared to the last few. So I think by design that this seems like the type of cold open they came up with on Friday, as is tradition, and they put this together quickly and they had a few minutes to get to it. It wasn't, it didn't cause me any harm. I just think that there's like little things that I would do, including moving Trump around and communicating with the rest of the people in the scene. But overall, excited for James, who had a really fun episode. So let's talk about the other sketches that we saw here tonight. And Halle, I'm going to send it over to you for the first sketch we're going to dive into.
Yes, I'm kicking us off with a sketch that really started us off on a really high note to me. I wanted to come talk about the karaoke sketch with Tommy Brennan as Nikki Glaser's little bro, Sarah Sherman as Tommy's girlfriend, and then Andrew and Ashley as the parents. I loved this sketch. I think this premise, I can absolutely guarantee you that there's a lot of people that think it's low-hanging fruit and it's an easy joke to make. I don't know if it's just being a girl in this world. Every man I know has a weird bond with his mom and his sister. Don't make that face, TJ. Don't make that face at me. I'm right. Every younger brother's a little bit
No,
weird.
the hell you ain't.
No offense to younger brothers. Listen, I've known some really weird sibling duos that would do this karaoke thing. And that aside, that's just the gist. I needed to defend myself because before we started the podcast, I did mention that I also last season talked about the Michael Longfellow incest type sketch. So that cannot be my brand. I need to defend myself there for a second. But I was so curious going into this episode to see if there would be any kind of big moments with Tommy and Nikki, because they kind of go back. Tommy opened for Nikki. They're like connected there, and I really just wanted to see how that would showcase. And so right off the bat, we got this. I feel like they both really put a lot into the bit here. I could see this premise having been less easy to get into and like easier to brush off if they hadn't really full sent it. And usually in a sketch like this, I would think that the two, the Nikki and Tommy are what's holding me together, and the cutaways to the rest of the family is where it kind of loses me. But we had some really great lines from the rest of the family in that. Like Andrew and Ashley's reaction when Sarah was like, dude, he's humping his sister, and the whole scene stops for them to just stare. I lost it. And usually it's hard for me to lose it at a moment like that in a sketch.
Let me play that line so we can go back and remind the audience of what happened here.
He's kind of humping his sister. What? What do you mean?
What the hell did you just say?
And I promise this is the only time in this episode I'm going to talk about the pairing of Ashley and Andrew again, but like, so good. Just so
I'm
fantastic.
obsessed with that pairing. They really made what otherwise I feel like I would have thought generally would be the part of the sketch that kind of loses me into something that really kept the momentum going, even in a moment like that is a just complete momentum stop that catches you off guard. But I think everyone that was involved with the sketch really just committed to the bit. And it really put me in a good mood. I was so amused. I'm also an avid karaokeer, so everything about the sketch felt, yes, TJ and I have karaoke'd, fun fact. But this sketch just felt like the perfect sketch to kick off the night for me.
So when you said that every younger brother or son could relate to this sketch, I was like,
Say what now?
because
I didn't say every younger brother or son could relate to this sketch. I said that a lot of people who have known a younger brother or someone's son, we live in a boy mom epidemic.
yes,
And I guess boy older sister.
as I was absolutely not told during the wedding planning of my wife and I last year that I was not marrying my mom. That yes, I can understand, but yeah, it is something that what TJ what.
I know there was that Heidi like update piece last year, like where she plays like a boy mom, and I do think my sister has told me that she thinks my mom thinks I'm the favorite, but it is like the boy mom levels are nowhere near, like in a Black household, nowhere near what I'm seeing in other places. So it's just kind of wild to me. It's very funny.
Yes, I have stories. But it is not karaoke stories, but just
Have you kissed your mom on the lips?
No.
I feel like I sent
not for a
us in
long
a
time.
really bad direction here, you guys. I take full responsibility for this. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes. My mom definitely did not tell my wife or ask my wife to share me with her, so that is fine.
Wait.
Not in a sexual way, just like
What
anyways.
What are you
Yes.
doing, Stepbro? Are we doing here? Oh my gosh.
Let's talk about the sketch. Let's talk about the karaoke. Halle, why'd you do this? Let's talk about this sketch though, seriously, because of course it's very funny to see the concept here of this brother sister on the date who cannot lay their hands off of each other as the songs get more and more raunchy. Jack, how did you feel about the sketch?
I didn't love it at first. I kind of liked it I liked it more on the rewatch. And now that I know that, like, I didn't know that Tommy opened up for Nikki Glaser, so like that kind of adds another like level to it that I kind of appreciate and makes me like the sketch more. But I thought that like Keenan was the best part of this sketch for me. Just sort of doing the side commentary, and I feel like he kind of saved a few sketches tonight, or that during the episode he kind of did the same with the bull riding one too, where he was like my favorite part of that sketch as well. But yeah, I mean it was fine. It wasn't like I don't know, like that is an interesting theory about mothers and sons and like sisters and stuff, but I just, I don't know. I love Keenan.
I do too. I thought he was so good as DJ Freakalicious. And also, like, look,
Yeah.
all jokes aside, this sketch was not so much about the mother-son relationship and more about the brother-sister
Yeah,
relationship.
for sure. Yeah.
Like, my sister is 9 years older than me, so I don't have like that sort of like friend connection in the same, like we are close, but I don't have that same connection. But I think that like brother-sister combos around the same age, I'm sure there's some sort of like layer there that isn't there for people who have more separation between them. But clearly, I mean, the song choices here were really amazing. The way that they went from Iris to I'll Make Love to You to continue to escalate. And I think that the whole shot, honestly, is more of a visual thing. So it's hard to play on the podcast. Of course, if you watch SNL, you know that they go to this well a lot. So maybe it didn't completely work for you. But I think the whole family dancing together, and I saw like Nikki and Ashley and Andrew, like they were like posting on Instagram. But there is a shot of like the four of them dancing together, sort of like all in a train, that is very funny. And I think at one point it's like Ashley, or it was Andrew who said like, "I wish Grandma was here."
It's Nikki who throws it out.
Oh, it was Nikki.
Like,
Nikki, yeah,
it's perfect rhythm when she throws it out. I miss Grandma, and just right back to the singing.
Yeah, exactly. Like to show that this is a generational thing about how close this family is. But I thought there was a lot to like here. Clearly, though, TJ, this is a story or a sketch about Tommy Brennan to me, where like we're going to, as fun as it is, the nuance and the details of this sketch, this is interesting because Tommy is somebody who I think had the lowest of expectations from the fandom coming in, because we had just gotten rid of a couple of stand-ups at the show and he was essentially coming in to replace them, and a lot of people were questioning like why even go down that route again. But then Tommy comes on, he has his update piece, and he's been in a lot of sketches so far this season. He's completely felt comfortable and seemed to adapt to the sketch format, so much so that this feels very well earned to me to see Tommy, who has experience with Nikki, have a sketch at the top of the show here. I'm feeling really good about what we're getting from him so far. So how did you feel about the sketch and that?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really look at it beyond the Tommy lens, besides like, oh, like this is nice that Tommy's getting a more front-facing piece here. I think I still have the question that similarly that I did with JAJ, like in his first season, which was like, what's the angle or the niche? But maybe Tommy's niche is that, he's a guy you would see on the Goldbergs. Like he's like, talks about being this Midwest guy. Like maybe he plays to that like common denominator, not people located in the Midwest, but those people that like watch The Masked Singer. Like maybe that's what he can do. But to be honest, it's way too early to say. Like, I don't think that's a fair characterization. I more was glad that, hey, it's cool to see him. This is the first sketch out of the gate. And it's really funny. He was very funny. And like, that's it. But honestly, I think this was kind of there wasn't anybody that was really the star. I think the premise was more the star of it. There's a few other things I want to point out. One, this was a great night for Sarah Sherman reaction face. This was a great night for her Muppet face. We're going to talk about that.
I liked it in this sketch. I'll give you that.
Yeah. I think there was a great Muppet face that she gave. I also want to point out the audacity to sing "You've Got a Friend in Me" to your girl is crazy. Like that is,
you're not a Toy Story guy.
Well, hold on. Oh, John, don't do that to me. Who's not a Toy Story fan? But to say, I would never sing that to Heather as like a symbol of like my love for her. Like that's to be like, baby, I love you. Like this is how I want to show it. I think it was a really fun little turn that like I wasn't anticipating, but it's also easy because everybody kind of knows that tune. Oh my gosh, this was just like a delight. I know apparently it's been talked about on the podcast. I haven't been listening in a ton, but one of my favorite pairings, husband-wife pairings, was Heidi and Mikey. I think they were always very fun when they got to play a couple. And it's way too early. It's way too early. But damn, the chemistry is strong there with Padilla and Dismukes. I mean, I wish there was an easier way to say their names together, by the way. I wish they had like a good combo. Nope, hate it. Don't like it. But like... but like I wish there was like I feel like we're on that road. Like, man, those two are just so fun and strong together. And I also just love that Keenan, like Jack, your comment about Keenan was the thing I was thinking about too. Like Keenan in this sketch and that other sketch, like he gets a handful of lines, and Keenan was like, I love the whole sketch, but Keenan is like near the top of also what I was laughing at, and he's talking about an '04 Corolla that he's trying to buy. Can you imagine a DJ saying that? But like at the end of the day, the sketch was funny. It made me laugh. Granted, it did make me go, what in the bratty sis in the hub are we doing here? But as somebody who finds those "what are you doing" step, I like the fact that Haley laughed, and that joke is for only like a certain amount of degenerates. But like as somebody who like loves the whole "what are you doing" step bro like bit, oh my god, this is right out my alley of just things that just crack me up. So yeah, just happy that this was here.
I
And it was a
also
strong
think,
start to the night too. Strong start.
yeah, it was
Sorry.
pretty solid. It seemed to be like a really easy sketch to dive into, and I like that. So I think that the Tommy thing for me, I kind of see a little bit of Alex Moffat in him. I think we were trying to figure out, a few of us like internally were trying to figure out like who he sort of reminds me of, and I think there's some Alex there. Of course, the stand-up background made it feel like a little different, but I think he sort of has that like basic, like good looking guy look. And I'm very curious to see the range because Alex could like turn from like the most normal guy to the dumb Eric Trump or the like coked up movie get goer. Like I'm curious to see like what Tommy can do when he gets silly, because I think that all we've seen from him in 5 episodes is that he could just like play it pretty straight. So
Yeah.
the question is not opportunity here like it has been with the last stand-ups. The question is range. So now that we see that the show is willing to commit to use him, now it's like, okay, what can he do on this show? I still have some questions, but I'm very excited that at least we're going to get that opportunity to hopefully see them. So let's keep going, Jack, and let's talk about the sketch that you want to dive into.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the sorority sketch. Did it have a name? I don't.
I think we were calling it just a sorority meeting.
Okay, cool. But yeah, they are the Delta Gammas, I believe. Nikki Glaser is sort of hosting a sorority meeting, and she's letting her sisters know that one of the other sororities, a frat guy, is using those creepy faces to look like a woman. And then we find out that Mikey Day is in disguise. And I mean, obviously the sight gag, right, was just like too good. And I just, I appreciated everybody's commitment. Like when I was in college, I was friends with a bunch of girls who were in a sorority. I was not in a fraternity, but I was sort of like the sorority's gay best friend, if you will. And it just like brought me back to them sort of like having these meetings and the sorority culture of like taking everything so seriously. And it's just, I don't know, it was just, I feel like they really, really nailed like that part of it. And then obviously like Chloe breaking was so fun to watch. I like don't really know if I've ever seen her break. And then just like the vape, like just, I don't know, the idea that like this sorority sister was just like openly vaping inside was like hilarious to me. And then obviously the smoke coming out of the eyes was such a good gag too. So I don't know, I love this episode. I love that we got to see all of the women on the cast sort of in doing something together. I feel like there's been a lot of talk this season about that there really this isn't a really strong period for the women after losing Ego and Heidi. I mean, there's only like 2 who are in like the main cast or whatever. So it was just, it was nice. And it almost kind of brought me back to the sort of Tina Fey, Amy Poehler years where it was like, oh, okay, like they're actually what everyone is saying online and all that kind of stuff, like, fuck that, like they're doing great.
I think they are. I think that, despite them only having 5 women on the cast, they're finding great ways to use them.
Yeah.
So this was a really solid sketch. This was put together by, if you watch the behind the sketch T-Mobile thing that they put out like once a week on YouTube, where they go deeper into a sketch. Last week, they did it for the Netflix, the Gone Without a Trace thing. And they mentioned that the pairings of Mike DiCenzo and Jake Nordwin and then Jimmy Falley and Cara O'Sullivan, they call themselves Claudette for some reason. So the Claudette writing team put this together where we had a lot of these women alongside Mikey as Alyssa with the mask. And I think that I definitely enjoyed this. I think that Mikey was hilarious in this role. I think that from a meta perspective, it was really fascinating to see what happened on the live show versus what they put up online, which is very different than what happened a few weeks ago with the Ashley Padilla fart sketch, where that one, they actually put up the complete dress version, so everyone online wouldn't see it unless you watch it at 11:30. But this sketch, they had the moment where Mikey couldn't, the vape wouldn't come out of his face, so he was sort of just standing there not knowing what to do, and they cut out those scenes and replaced them with the dress version there. So personally, I'm always a fan, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, TJ, of like, give us the raw what happened live moment. But I do understand here that there was a rather big part of the sketch that malfunctioned. What did you think of the sorority mini sketch?
Yeah, it actually tripped Heather up when because Heather was actually falling asleep while she fell asleep before the show aired. She was just very tired from like an event beforehand. I was trying to kick her across the couch to wake her up, but she didn't wake up until the first sketch. So for her, she was very sleepy, falling asleep throughout the night. So she missed little pieces, but like got like gist. So when I was doing my rewatch, and she was like, "Wait a minute, why does Mikey have gum on his mouth?" Because like in that in the for those who like maybe haven't seen it, the scene John is talking about where he's like the vape is out of his eyes, there's also this weird continuity error which wasn't in the live version where it looks like it's gum or jelly or something that's also on Mikey's face while the smoke effect is actually taking place, which was cool because I do think it was a smart thing. That is the smart edit to make. But it also, if you're a dork like I am, I'm like, what's with this continuity error? Because they don't use the rest of the dress footage for the episode. They didn't keep the original live aired footage. So there's this weird continuity error. But at the end of the day, it's a comedy sketch. Who gives a shit? It's more just kind of a little bit fun to talk about. They're like, oh, hey, like this is like a weird thing. But like the continuity error, like aside, talking about the sketch itself, I thought was fun because one, I didn't know you could buy the white chick's mask. I had no clue like that was out there like commercially.
Would you want to try it?
Don't play with me, John. But like, oh, actually, that's a fair question. Although, you know what is funny? I did see a video recently of like two guys dressed up like white chicks, like breakdancing at a quinceanera recently. So that popped up in my feed after that sketch popped up. So this is more kind of fun because I think it's a play on that dumb 80s like fraternity movie premise. That this is such a silly movie premise where like She's the Man or these movies where like someone's gonna go undercover to infiltrate a college thing. Granted, I am so curious, like has someone ever done that? Like it feels so unrealistic, but such a thing in movies. So I just really appreciated that they kind of jumped into this very, very silly premise. And at the smoke eyes effect, I think that was worth the continuity error. Like it was weird. I was wondering like, what are they going to do? But
I think it was as well.
Fun.
I think it was as well. I really think that that's something that could have been fun to include there. It was almost a shame that the vape like didn't work towards the end after he like tried it a few times. So they at least used the live version. Like I think the fact that it completely malfunctioned led them to make that choice there where they had to splice it together. But it was just interesting to think about. And Halle, I think that the part that we didn't talk about yet that I think was most fascinating to me was I love the way they ended this sketch. I love that the reveal that Nikki's character is also someone in disguise, and we get that shot, which is clearly pre-recorded, of Andrew Dismukes in the Nikki mask. How did you feel about this one?
I feel like there's been so many times where like a big goofy over the top twist ending to a sketch kind of takes me out of the sketch that just happened. And I know that it's a very effective technique for a lot of people, but for me, if I like just what's already happening and then it has to just take it a step further, sometimes it puts that over the top for me. This was maybe the most effective use of a random twist at the end. Maybe it's just me. That was the last thing I was expecting. I actually gasped when it revealed Dismukes' face. And it was just such a funny visual to see at the end there. And the contrast of like it being such a shocker because of course Nikki was not wearing this ridiculous mask that Mikey was wearing, which someone in the chat said it. I have to give a shout out to whoever made that mask because it so easily could have been either too realistic, or it so easily could have been so fake that it like really just is hard to even put yourself in the believability area of this sketch. That mask, even though it did look exactly like the white chick's mask, was so uncanny valley, and it took me maybe I also just cannot see, but it took me a solid minute to be like, who the hell is in there? What is happening?
I had
And I
like
was
no
I'm
idea until the
99.
end.
Same.
I was like, I just used my context clues, and I was like, this feels like it would be Mikey in there, so I'm gonna come to that conclusion. But I was like looking so close at the screen, trying to figure out who was in there. But that's besides the point. I really loved the ending of this because it actually did shock me. And I think Dismukes was the perfect choice for that because he just looked so goofy coming out of that mask. It was perfect. That is what took the sketch from like here to here for me.
Really? Hey, John.
Yes.
Thinking about like Halle's note on endings for this episode, I think this was an episode that I can't speak to every sketch off the top of the memory, but I feel like there were stronger endings to this episode stronger endings to the sketches within this episode, where like their little ending tag or whatever, I was like, oh, I really like, we're gonna talk about one sketch that I was like, that tag was fucking perfect. I think there were really great tags in this one, which felt like good cohesive sketches rather than like, is this a Walgreens ad? Like what? Like I didn't really do that, I think, anytime during the episode.
Look, throughout half a century of this show, the writers have always said that the hardest thing to do is find a way to end a sketch. And I, give them the grace for that. It's just, there's been a lot of crutches they've leaned on in the last few years I didn't love. Here, I thought they had a great episode for that, TJ. So I totally agree with you. I just want to say last bit on this sorority meeting, which is that I loved Mikey in this sketch. I think that he played it really well. I think that this was a cool moment for him to be sort of the character in a sketch that isn't a sketch that he wrote. I think that when he writes a sketch, or him and Streeter put together a sketch, it has a certain tone, a certain feel to it. And when he's in other people's sketches, he tends to be the one to react or, sort of guided as the straight person in a sketch. In this case, he is the one who is driving the comedy. And I think that it was really interesting to see that in somebody else's sketch here. So good stuff from Mikey Day. All right, TJ, what sketch are we going to go to next?
I mean, we have to talk about that pilot sketch. Like the reason I bring up like good endings is I think that ending of the pilot sketch is just one of my favorites I've seen in a long time because it's a blink and you miss it. But the fact that this is basically, a great kind of out of the headlines pitch. Hey, people are really struggling when it comes to flights. Things are taking a lot longer. It's difficult. And the fact that you have a MAGA blonde talking about Mom Donnie in the middle of announcements, and then you cut in, and it's just. This is going to sound so weird. I love the bit, and it's not a bit I do myself. I don't even do it well, but I love the pilot's voice bit. I think it's, for some reason, it just cracks me up. And this was a fucking knock it out of the park. Like you serve it up to him on a platter for JAJ, who can switch into that, those voices that, I'm not going to describe them all, but he can switch into that, host voice, like the old voice, the pilot voice. This was so fun. And I thought it was cute. It was quick. The fact that Cam Patterson is his co-pilot and is feeding him these lines of things that he can't say to this woman, and it's a pilot just trying to talk to the passengers about what he should say to a woman that he met in Cleveland. I smiled and laughed so hard with this. Also, I did love the line, something about slathering her up in butter and popping her open like a crab leg. I'll be honest, hey, to the right person, that's a great line. That is a 10 out of 10 line. I know I could say that shit and get away with it, but I'm allergic to seafood. And Heather would be like, well, aren't you allergic? But I know if I wasn't, she would love that line. So there was just a lot of stuff in here that was very funny. Another great moment for Sarah's Muppet face. There's a moment where the camera holds, and I want to bet that it was. I just heard Heather laugh at that line, because of the time delay. But there's a moment where I think the camera was holding a little too long on Sarah, but I think it worked out because when Dismukes gives what I'm going to call the Dismuke rebuke, when he just tells her that he doesn't care about seeing her naked in her appalled face, and I'm sure she's waiting for the camera to switch. It just hung a little too long for it to be just a lot of fun. Also, crazy to call Bowen Yang a modern family gay. That was an incredible line. I know there's a lot of gay archetypes. That was a new one for me. Granted, I've seen Modern Family and I get the bit, but I just to call it Bowen Yang, it was just a delight. It was just this was just fantastic for me. Oh, also Sarah Sherman calling a woman a whore because she sent a text that she's having a shower. I love this is a rewatch sketch for me, like for sure. I howled just as much watching the second time as I did the first time. Loved it.
I was really happy for James. Again, this was an episode that really featured him and featured his range. He has sort of done the pilot voice in other sketches before, but never one that really revolved around him. So for him to have the opportunity to be there and sort of, go from your flight is delayed to escalate.
Already matched with a cute, it's a cute, about a 7.5 girl, sort of my sweet spot. A little out of my range, but attainable.
Yeah, slightly attainable. So I think it was great because, again, the idea here is that the pilot, in theory, is only allowed to talk about the most basic things over the intercom, but will just reveal everything that is going on in his life as the flight continues to be delayed. And I think the thing here is that, like, in the structure of the sketch, you want to be careful where how are you going to choose the people who are clearly annoyed about their flight being delayed, how they're going to react to this person. And I think that there was really good reactions from Andrew. I think there was some fun moments from Sarah. I'm not completely on board with you, TJ, that Sarah was the perfect person to be reacting to this. I think it was a little bit too goofy for me, where I felt like there should have been more. Like I truly, like I do feel like she was great in reacting in the family sketch. In this one, I didn't love it as much. I felt like there could have been more.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's how I feel. But I think
too
there could have
goofy.
been.
It's a comedy show, my guy.
No, but there's the way to play it. Like she doesn't have to play it so comedic in that sense. Like she could play it.
She's
straighter.
Literally a fucking comedian. What are you talking about?
No, I completely disagree with you. But anyways,
Sorry, I'm crashing out.
There's a lot of nuance here where I think that there was a way to play this where she could be like, I think the tension between her and Andrew was fun because then she was like, oh, well, I'm going to like, you don't talk to me like that and stuff like that. Like, I think that there was something here, but I think that in general, like it was a little bit too campy for me, honestly. But Halle, how did you feel?
I do agree with you there, John. I'm so sorry to break this news to you, TJ, but I agree with that. I think that it would have been a little bit better with a little bit more contrast between the goofy things happening and the reactions to the goofy things happening. But across the board, I think that this was really, when it started, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, flights are having issues, low-hanging fruit there, we know. But I feel like this was a really well-executed mix of a current event that everyone has feelings about and everyone's involved with in some way or like impacted by mostly. And just like something super random to make it a little less painful to those of us that have to fly in the near future, a little bit further removed from reality. But I think part of what made me love this sketch so much was how real, even though he was saying these ridiculous things, and I would hope you would never have a pilot talk all about his Hinge life to you. James Austin Johnson.
Girl, speak for yourself.
Honestly, it would be the highlight of my travel anything. That would be the most fun thing to ever happen. But I also do prefer my pilots to be a little bit focused on flying the plane that's going to go way high in the sky. But I think part of what really grounded the sketch for me was that the fact that he was doing these ridiculous things, but James Austin Johnson, I don't know how every pilot ever on the face of the planet sounds exactly like that. And I don't know that I had known that that was a thing until I saw this. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a pilot. Also incredibly satisfying to listen to because the pilot voice just so well executed. I was like, do ASMR or something. That was crazy. But that's besides the point. I think it was that level of reality of just the most generic and well-executed pilot voice I've ever heard. And I feel like if that kind of grounded reality had been the baseline throughout the rest of the sketch, it would have kind of leveled it out for me. I agree with you there, John, that it being a little bit too goofy at some points took away from it for a little bit.
Yeah, and I also want to shout out Cam, who you mentioned, TJ, is like having some of your funniest lines of the sketch, but I do feel like Cam continues to impress me over the last few weeks. Like, he is really bringing me some really good lines throughout the episode. I'll play a couple later when we do our rapid fire from the American Girl sketch. But I thought he was really good next to the person who was the, anchor of the sketch. He's the one there as like your sidekick or your pump up man. And I thought he crushed those roles here. Jack, how did you feel about this one?
I liked this sketch a lot. I kind of agreed. Like, James Austin Johnson's pilot voice is like almost too real. Like, I was just like, that was the only thing I could think of. I was just like, oh my God, he is so good at the pilot voice. So that was kind of fun. I enjoyed Sarah Sherman in it. I thought she was great. The horror line, I think, was like maybe my favorite laugh of the entire, or got the biggest laugh for me from the entire sketch. And this doesn't really have anything to do with the writing itself, but I feel like some of the set design in this episode was really, really good. Like the bar with the mechanical bull and all of it, it just looked very, very impressive. But I don't know why Saturday Night Live cannot make airplanes look more realistic. Like, I was just watching it and I was so distracted about like how old the airplane looked. Like, I don't know if it's like it's just me, but I feel like they can do better on airplanes. Like, it is just, I don't know, it's too boxy, it's too, like, I was just on a plane last week, so maybe that's why it's fresh in my mind. But there's just something about it that like it looks like the set hasn't changed like from the 90s when they do airplanes.
That's a fascinating take, because I actually think I didn't put it together, but I was having a similar thought, because they were so, like, the plane was so short, and I get it, like, it gives you more space in the studio, so they were able to probably do more with this sketch when the plane isn't taking up so much room throughout a pretty small studio with a lot of sets on it. However, like, if you go back to like David Spade's like Total Bastard Airlines, we get a much longer plane there with where you have to have sort of the parade of people walking by doing the whole bye-bye thing. And even I think there was like an Ed Grimley sketch on a plane in like back in the 80s. Like, they have done realistic good planes before, but I agree that this was a pretty short plane, and that was a great take, Jack. So thanks for bringing that up. All right, I want to move on to a sketch that I'm really excited to talk about, and we've been asking for a few weeks now, are we going to get a showcase for Jeremy Colhane? And finally, the last sketch of the night takes us to the make-believe meadow, where we're going to see Nikki Glaser as Anna, who's going to go back and greet Ben, Sarah, Bowen, Mikey, and Jeremy, and give them presents and go to the make-believe meadow for one last time. And the present that we are going to get from Nikki to Mikey and Jeremy is, of course, a pinwheel. Yes, a pinwheel, where we're going to have lots of pinwheels to talk about here. And yes,
Where did
I do
you
have
buy
one.
that?
I bought it on Amazon to have one for the roundtable here, of course.
Within this span of, oh wow, that's a fast Amazon delivery. Wow.
Hey, you got Prime. That's what Prime's about, baby. But yeah, this was so much fun to have Jeremy finally run around with Mikey on the set as they are talking to Anna.
Yes, Anna. Yes, Anna. Yes, Anna.
so great. Of course, she will get annoyed, and so will everybody else in this sketch, as Mikey and Jeremy are just taking over the space here. But I am so happy, Halle, that we finally got a great Jeremy moment.
I was obsessed with this, and I think everyone that's ever been around me, and I say ever as in like the last couple days since this episode aired, is so mad that this sketch was in this episode, because I cannot stop running around going pinwheel. I've become the most a pinwheel. It just, like, this was such a great performance from Jeremy. And it seems like such a simple thing just to keep running around looking whimsical as hell and being very fascinated by this pinwheel. But everything about it, like the consistency of it, the never changing way that he would say Anna and pinwheel, and the face that he would make, like, I don't even know how someone captures that level of whimsy to the extent that he did, but he over whimsied it in the best way possible. And I also have to give Mikey his flowers for this. This is the side of Mikey J that I love to see. I love it when he's doing this like really just kind of absurd, goofy hit, like the line he had where he was like, I fell asleep for a little bit, Anna. That was maybe my favorite part of the whole sketch, other than every time they said pinwheel, every 4 billion time. But I just think that everyone that was involved here was so into it and was in the perfect role in this sketch. But Jeremy did really stand out to me. I do not know how he captured, I keep saying whimsy. I don't know why, but that's the only way I can describe it. He captured whimsy in a way that no one has ever captured whimsy before.
I love it so much. And it's my favorite type of sketch on Saturday Night Live, where you have someone like so silly, so happy, and so insufferable, because like what makes them who they are, they cannot be anything but that. And I think this is the first time this season, in what I think has been a pretty solid season so far, that we've actually gotten a proper like 5-to-1 or 10-to-1 sketch in that style, where something that was so silly that really belongs at the end of the night, these like two, I don't even know if they're not human, right? Like the Dubby and Snip, these like creatures who are just obsessed with pinwheels. And Jeremy, again, like a moment here where we're all waiting. We know he has like the sketch background. He could bring in some, character work into this show. And I just thought like his whimsy, as you said, Halle, was on display when he had this moment towards the end of the sketch. I love it. I love how long you went with it. The fact that, and I think he actually like posted the cue card where it literally says if you on the card. It was a great line there. Jack, how did you feel about the make-believe meadow?
Okay, so I don't know if this was just me and my location, but the like commercial went over where I lived on my whatever. So like I missed like the whole setting the context of like it kind of just like went into the sketch for me, like basically when the storybook thing ended. So, and I didn't like think to watch it on YouTube to understand it. So like when I watched it, I was like, I don't like, what is this? But that also kind of made it like even more funny for me, because I was like, I don't understand what is going on, but this is just like a strange like acid trip kind of sketch that's happening right now. But yeah, like really, really great character work. Bowen was so funny when he like freaked the fuck out. At first I almost thought he was like taking it a little too far, but then I think like when it was over with, I was like, oh my God, that was like incredible that he just like was at a 10 a 20, Can
I just go there, Jack? Because I just want to play this line again. It reminds me, we've been playing a lot of like wonderful Ashley lines throughout the season. I got to give credit to Bowen, who hasn't had a lot of like major Bowen starring sketches, but even like a Peel Back Bowen has been pretty solid all season long. And I think that this is potentially the highlight of the season for him, where he just goes nuts at Jeremy and Mikey.
No! Go play over there with your pinwheels! Give us space, go! What about the pinwheels? No! I'm begging both of you, go over there! Enough! Enough! Stop it!
Absolute all-star stuff there from Bo and Yang. Jack, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, I feel like, maybe once in our lives, we've all been in that sort of crash out sort of level of rage, and he just perfectly captured it, and it was fully committed, and just a strange, it almost felt like something that like Will Forte would have cooked up or something, and I don't know, it was so fun.
Yeah, that's that like 5-to-1 or 10-to-1 quality in it. And I think like, look, there has been some comparisons between Bobby and Jeremy, and I definitely do see that. In a way, this reminded me a touch of a very different sketch, but also like similar in style in a sense of Bobby and Casey during season 34. They were in this Mary Poppins sketch with Anne Hathaway, where they found out what the real meaning of supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is. There was that moment there, and I was like, oh, okay, seeing Bobby and his reactions to everything, I was like, oh, this is really interesting to get to see. And I feel like sort of like, again, these like really silly offbeat moments where we're not just like people sitting around a bar or sitting around a living room. Like that doesn't feel like the space or the playground for somebody like Jeremy. Jeremy feels like the type of cast member that belongs in the make-believe, the one that could really give us scenes in a show that you wouldn't normally get from a more traditional cast member. And TJ, that's what made this so exciting to me.
It did. Like it in addition to whimsy, it had a lot of wonder. I think like wonder was also what I wrote down in my notes here. And just touching on what you guys said, and you like, I think Jack, you already said crash out. Talk to me about what I think was one of the most valid TV crash outs I've seen in a long time. Like that was an incredible crash out. I loved every bit of that. And I'm so glad you played that, John. I might watch this episode again. I really liked this. I think I wish I had a GIF of or GIF, whatever the fuck it is, of Mikey like fucking like hammering the pinwheel in the air with like an incredible speed, like as Nikki Glaser's trying to deliver lines. Also, John, I love that you have this pinwheel. John, you have a wife now. Like, what are you gonna do when this ends? And Allie's like, well, what are you gonna do with the pinwheel? Like, that's all I can think of.
Honestly, when she asks, I'm literally just gonna go,
A pinwheel.
Can't set you up like that. Also, such a nothing of a joke, but I like that they add in the line that it's a hard vowel because Anna is the way they're saying her name. Like this, this was a fun team up. Also, I think this was another case of a good end bumper, even though I wouldn't say it's as strong as like an animation of a plane on a highway. Just want to say we should have touched on that, but that was fucking 10 out of 10 ends for me. Like incredible. But like the fact that it's about her never having children again, maybe it's because I'm somebody who doesn't want to have kids. So that always makes me laugh and makes me feel seen. But I think that was also just like really, really fun. God, I just want to watch this again. Like there's a few from this episode that I'm sharing with people and I was happy to watch. I was happy to talk about this episode. So this just made the end great.
And that's why it's great to talk about this with all of you, because it makes us enjoy it more to touch base on it. So let's go around the round table one more time and let's do some rapid fire. Halle, was there anything else from this episode that you want to touch
on? Not anything that I like need to talk about a lot, but I do have to applaud Ben. I feel like in my brain, thinking about someone doing an impression, I wouldn't be like, Ben Marshall, yes, he's going to go do an impression. But I think he really nailed the Mr. Beast voice and mannerisms in the Beauty and Mr. Beast sketch. And that was really a pleasant surprise. It was not a lead role in a sketch that I would have anticipated him taking on, but he really crushed it there.
Yeah, very solid stuff from Ben.
For every pound he loses, I'll give a Tesla to a random stranger.
Yeah. It was a solid one there. Jack, any other moments from the night you want to talk about?
Yeah, loved Ben in that sketch. It's sort of like, it's just like, I can't believe he's been in the building and hasn't been on TV like for all these years, you know? So I'm happy that he's like able to sort of shine and do all this. I loved the Jennifer Hudson Spirit Tunnel sketch. I have like a weird fascination with the Jennifer Hudson Spirit Tunnel. It's probably because I work at a TV station that plays a Jennifer Hudson show, so I watch it or I like listen to it on background every single day at work. But I remember like over the summer, or maybe it was in the spring, Chloe Feynman was on her show and she did a Spirit Tunnel walkthrough, and I remember being like, oh my god, she looks so uncomfortable and like she looks like she wants to die doing this. So I wonder if like that had some sort of connection to this this fake prescription for celebrities to take so they don't have to go to the Jennifer Hudson show. But I just love how specific it was, and I love that like the pill was just like, it'll make you deathly ill and like you don't have to go, and someone cool can go like Marcelo. Like it was so perfect, and it felt like one of those sketches that was like made specifically for me. Like I was like, how did they know that I've thought about this? Like I loved it.
What would you do if you got the Spirit Tunnel invite?
Oh, I would freak out too. I mean, I would think that I would be looking cool, but I probably would not be looking cool. So like I would watch it afterwards. But yeah, I thought about like what song that they would like remix to say Jack Roskopp too or something if I was famous. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I guess you only have to know about it if you're like on the internet, right? But it was just, it tickled me. It was so good.
It was very funny. TJ, anything else you want to talk about from this episode?
There are a few things I want to touch on. One, I think this is good. I don't know how long it took them to commission the Brad and his dad animation. That's something obviously that could have popped into literally anywhere. But I love that it had like a sweet note to it. I'm a big sucker for like good dad moments. Like even though I'm not gonna have any kids of my own, I like seeing those in movies because it's not gonna cost me $1,500 in daycare. So it's really nice to see from afar. Like those moments is like really cute. Look, I know it's a crazy sketch.
Honestly, but Halle would hate it if it was Brad and his mom, but I think Brad and his dad is okay.
Yeah.
It was wholesome, at least.
It was. I liked it. I thought it was also funny. Like, just something so funny about a dad beating his son in the face with this football. The animation I thought was really funny, cute. It was a very Mike Judge coded animation. Everybody else like felt that it's like, oh, look, I feel like this is like somebody who would like try to pitch for King of the Hill. Okay, another piece is that the two drunk bitches, I'm not trying to defend that sketch. I'm not even trying to advocate for it. I'm gonna say two things. One, it did not ruin my night. And two, the sketch does a lot, but I don't think it harmed itself in that it does a lot. I think maybe people didn't like what it did, like the bit itself, and I can understand that. But the Kenan, the Dismukes, the fact that it's a bridal shower that then switches to this mechanical bull green screen bit that it's about time traveling Galileo, it's fucking crazy.
I was obsessed.
But I
was obsessed.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciated the effort for this. Like, this was a big A for effort for me. And also the fact that JAJ is singing. This was another great JAJ moment. This is like, man, he could put this whole episode on the reel for him. Another piece.
If he gets an Emmy nom, I think that this one may go. Like, I do believe that. So it was great.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in on this, TJ? Because I just want to say that the Runaway Mechanical Bull was probably my favorite sketch of the night, honestly. I just thought it was like, it's not even like it didn't, not that it didn't ruin it. Like, I think it elevated the episode. I thought it was so great because it was just like such a simple premise that they ended up like really, as I said on Saturday, like using the space of the studio, having some fun with it. I thought James is sort of like that Johnny Cash singer, like really came in and just shows like how good he is at like taking like a wild concept and like making it digestible for the audience as he's singing and narrating the whole thing.
Two drunk bitches on a runaway mechanical bull.
And it was like catchy, and there was moments here that were so silly. And like if you go online and you see like on the SNL Instagram, they were showing like the woman who was like throwing stuff at them throughout it, Galileo like hanging on the green screen box. And I love that there was like sort of like this turn at one point where we won't do the whole analysis of the sketch right now, but like where Sarah, who's playing like Delula, like turns into Sarah Sherman.
Then Sarah Sherman got hit by another fish in a bucket of water.
It's like
yeah, it was so it was like so silly, and this is my take. I said it on Saturday, like I felt it watching live, and I maintained that on the rewatch. Like it's one of those things that this sketch only makes it in this episode because they love Nikki Glaser. Like they just love having fun with her. She brings a good energy to the show, and I think you get that in moments like this. So I did really like that. Did you want to bring up one more?
Yeah, there's a couple of pieces. Well, one also just adding in from that, the Andre Keenan piece. What is it, like a 15-second bit? But like honestly, great fucking Keenan bit. Might be one of my favorite Keenan bits of the year. Honestly, if it wasn't for the musical cue transition to Keenan, I think it would have severely like ruined it for me. But the music cue and then the zoom in on top of Keenan, I think just it was a beautiful little sandwich.
There was something dark there with Andre.
I think that was wonderful. Another thing, the Mr. Beast sketch. I think that was probably not. I don't think there was any sketch in the show that was bad, but it was probably the weakest sketch for me. I'll say this: the thing it made me realize is, okay, you now need to start switching to like, it's like when Disney Channel stops airing The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and you got to start focusing on Good Luck Charlie. It's like, all right, there's a new generation of viewers that you need to catch. So you need to make a Kai Cenat reference. You need to make a Mr. Beast reference. Oh, look, I like a Mr. Beast video every now and then. I'm not a fan, but like I watched the full show. Like I enjoyed the show. But I'm like, you need to do this. I don't think it was, however, from somebody who's seen at least enough Mr. Beast shit, I don't think it was a good Mr. Beast bit. I don't think you bring in the viewers because I don't know if you yet have somebody who actually like knows it that can like parody it. Like look, I hate Twitch streamers so fucking much with my whole heart, but they're entertainers. It's a $1 billion business. People love them. They work for a lot of people. Like, I have nothing against them as like an entertainment. So like, you need to
apologies
find
for all
way
the people
to,
watching
like,
us on Twitch tonight. We are streaming on Twitch, so sorry.
I said what I said. But like, you need a way to cater to that. I hate streaming so much, but I recognize it as a powerhouse. I have good friends that are streamers. It's not for me, but I recognize it as something that's wonderful for people. Two last things. One, a SeaWorld joke in 2025. Oh no, we can update. Who's thinking about SeaWorld? I don't know. I just thought it was fun. And also, it was really nice to see Pete. I just felt like, you know what's crazy? Here's what's fucked up about Pete Davidson is he makes you think you miss him, but you don't miss him because he wasn't on the goddamn show a lot for like those last few years. But with that piece, it made me miss him and be like, man, I kind of wish Pete was back on the show. But I know that like he's gaslighting me with how good that Weekend Update piece was. That was a phenomenal Pete piece. It was great. That was a great Pete piece, and I'm so mad at him because it makes me love him again.
Yeah.
So
let me just say more like Studio C World. Am I right? But anyways, yeah, let's talk about Pete on update where Pete, I was so happy to see him come back. I thought that he just crushed this. I actually saw a lot of people saying that they felt like Pete's stand-up was the best stand-up of the night, which was kind of a shot at Nikki, but I really think that I thought that Pete came in and crushed us, and it was great to see him, honestly. I thought that 2 lines really worked for me. Number one, of course, this one.
If Lorne Michaels has taught us anything, it's that you never, ever give up. Even if everyone says the time has come and Tina Fey is ready to take over.
And I heard a story where in Dress, like everyone started clapping, and he was like, "Don't clap, that line's gonna get cut." So I thought that was a great story from Dress Rehearsal. And then, of course, this one, which it was another fantastic line.
As you know, we just had a mayoral election, which is it's my least favorite kind of oral.
Incredible line. Incredible line.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it is an incredible line, but it gives us an opportunity to hear about Pete's bit.
Classic Pete. Yeah. Pete's back, baby.
Hold on. You're adding new bits now. You've been gone for years.
Yeah. Yep. It's now this and Chad.
Yes, of course. So I'm so glad that Pete added another bit to that. Honestly, really like fantastic stuff there. It added to an already really strong episode. And the other one piece that we didn't mention that I really liked and I clipped a good few lines from, this was like the Colin Joe sketch of the night, the American Girl XL pre-tape, where we had Nikki as Heather talking, and just really like a lot of cast members talking about their favorite American Girl dolls all grown up. And the lines from some of the men of the cast here, super creepy, but super funny.
Mine hates her dad, and she wants to be a singer. That's why her mouth is always open.
Yo,
crazy. Great stuff from Ben, but Cam just killed me in this sketch. He's making me laugh so much so far this season. Where first he does,
mine looks like my brother's wife,
and then he'll go to this.
I made mine biracial.
He says it like between that and the crab legs. Like I thought he had a really strong night here. So I am excited for the moment to see him continue to spread his legs or crab legs. But I look forward to what we will get from him the rest of the season. I think there's good stuff on the horizon for a guy like Cam. All right, let's talk about the MVPs from week number 5. Let's go through the rundown from the show. So 9 sketches for Nikki Glaser. We got Pete on update, Sombr with 2 performances, climbing the rafters at Saturday Night Live, or at least the ladder onto the top of the musical guest stage. We got 6 sketches from Andrew, 6 from Sarah, 2 voiceovers and 4 sketches from Mikey, 4 sketches and a voiceover from James, 4 from Keenan, 3 and 2 voiceovers from Chloe, Bowen with 3 sketches, and then Marcelo just 1 sketch. Quiet couple weeks from Marcelo. I'm looking forward to hearing what Mike has to say about that on Wednesday. For the feature players, we got 4 sketches from Ashley, Jeremy, Ben, and Veronica, 3 and a voiceover from Tommy, and then 3 from Jane and 3 from Cam. Another week where the cast was used tremendously, just really well spread out throughout the entire episode. Halle, I will start with you. Who do you think the top 3 MVP vote getters were for week number 5?
This is one of the first roundtables I've been on where I really have to think about this. There's not I think it was just a great episode all around for so many people that it's hard to pick highlights. But if I had to make my guesses, I'm going to say James Austin Johnson, Andrew Dismukes, and I'll give Jeremy that third spot solely for Pinwheel. Iconic.
Okay. All right. So we got James and Andrew and Jeremy. Jack, what will you go with your predictions?
I'm going to go James Austin Johnson, Nikki Glaser, and I guess this Mukes.
Okay. All right. How come?
You know, it's kind of interesting because it's like Nikki didn't really like she wasn't like I don't know, like I don't want to say she didn't stand out because like she did stand out, but she felt like very comfortable, at least to me, amongst the cast. And I don't know if it was like it was like such a solid episode for me. And I don't know if there was anything that was like super memorable that she necessarily did, besides maybe her monologue. But like she was such a good asset, I felt like, to the cast, and kind of just like felt like she belonged with that cast and had great chemistry with all of them. And I think that she'll be one of those hosts who like will be asked back, hopefully.
I think so as well. TJ, who are you going to predict for the top 3 MVP vote getters?
Unlike Halle, I actually like to support women, so I'm going to put Nikki Glaser at the top. I'm going to give JAJ the second spot, but to be honest, I think they could both share it. I'll give the third to Pete. I think we got to remember there's a lot of Pete love out there, and even though I think he should trim that mustache, we still love Pete, and he was glad he was back. So, and you know what's crazy too? I feel like the headlines were talking a lot about Pete rather than about Nikki. And to speak to Jack's point, there was a lot of like, even though I think Nikki was like solid in everything she did, it was almost like she was still main, but it was almost like she was both main and supporting. It was, you know, it's crazy. She had sketches that were really good for like a Jack Black type host, but the show almost treated her like she was like a kind of like a host that's coming through for like Oscar noms. Like they're gonna like serve. It was weird. She had this like middle line, even though I know she could like absolutely get up there if she like is capable. It was weird the way the show treated her. But overall, I'd say Glaser, JJ, and then Pete. So honorable mention to Dismukes.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, like unlike TJ, our audience doesn't support women because the top 3 were men, as we got James Johnson, who won this one. All jokes aside, congrats to James. 33% of the vote to James, 12% to Jeremy. Congrats, Jeremy. Honestly, a great episode. Andrew Dismukes, 11% of the vote there. And then Nikki is in 4th place, 10% of the vote. So James ran away with this. A third of the vote goes to him. 12 to Jeremy, to 11 to Andrew, and then 10 to Nikki. And then Mikey Day comes in 5th place here with 8%. Sarah was right behind Mikey. But yeah, so honestly, really good episode from James Austin Johnson. I'm so excited to see him. I sort of resigned myself to the fact that James was going to end up mostly playing the president and, you know, having these impressions every now and then. But I am so thrilled that we got an episode here where he really had an opportunity to shine and show what he does best. And I believe that, you know, if the show continues to, it doesn't have to be every week, but if the show at least gives him once in a 3-week run to have an episode like this, they will be so much better for it. So I think that he's totally well deserving of this MVP for week number 5. Just want to do a quick cleanup and correction on Marcelo, who was in 2 sketches this week, the cold open, as well as that Jennifer Hudson tunnel that we saw. Okay.
It's such a blink and you miss it role, John. I had the same thought. I was like, Marcelo, was he not on site until I saw him at the Good Nights? I was like, whoa, what's happening here?
Yeah, thanks, Shari in the chat for pointing that out. I appreciate it. Always helps with the numbers to clean that all up. And of course, Mike will have the official tally on Wednesday with all of the screen time. All right, let's look ahead to what we got next week, where we have the final show in these pre-Thanksgiving run, where we will have Glenn Powell come and host Saturday Night Live for the first time. Another guest that has been predicted to host for a while. He last appeared on the show in season 49 during the Sydney Sweeney episode, where he was there as a part of the monologue. Of course, there was a lot of rumors at the time that Glenn Powell and Sydney were dating, so they were sort of playing off of that. But now we finally get to see Glenn Powell shine as he has his moment to host the show. Halle, are you excited to see Glenn Powell in this episode?
I'm very excited. I feel like I felt like it was coming for a while. He's having such a moment in terms of pop culture. And while I feel like I've seen every movie that he's ever been in, which is like every movie ever right now, it feels like, I don't know that I've seen a ton of his personality outside of his films and shows that I've seen him in. So I'm very excited to see some of that come through in his SNL episode, hopefully. And I'm also very excited from a musical guest standpoint for this one. I was manifesting this, and I'm very, very pumped to see it. Such a talented artist. I think it's a great lineup and will hopefully be a really fun episode.
I think it will be. I think that Glenn does have the ability to be a really fun host. He was also in that Loud Table sketch at the end of that episode as well. So if you want to go back and see some more sketch performing from him as we go and preview this one. But I've always been a big New York Giants fan. So I was like so fascinated when Eli Manning dressed up as like a different quarterback. And then that sort of initiated this Chad Powers TV show that Glenn would star in. And the fact that they would choose him for such a comedic role gives me a lot of excitement for what we are going to see this week with Glenn Powell. Jack, what are your thoughts and expectations?
I'm actually excited for Glenn Powell. He was in Scream Queens back in the day.
He was?
Yeah, man. He was in Scream Queens.
Oh,
he wasn't famous, but he was, like he got, but he was really played like a dumb himbo kind of character and was like really, really good in it. Almost kind of surprising that like Ryan Murphy hasn't had him in more things, but that's for another day. But yeah, I'm excited, and I'm really, really excited for Olivia Dean. She's so cool. And yeah, it'll be like I feel like it'll be like hopefully a nice little cap to like a good, 3-episode run kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm just reading that Glenn Powell was in Spy Kids, and my mind is blown.
What? Okay, didn't know that.
Wait, which one? Was it the best one, Spy Kids 3? Was it the
Kids,
clear
3D Game Over? That one.
An incredible bad film. Like up there with Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Like really just, when you talk about an oeuvre of bad films,
yeah,
Spy
I can't
Kids
wait to go
3D.
watch that one after this. That'll be good homework to do before this.
Dude,
TJ,
text me if you do. That's so funny.
TJ, what do you think about Glenn Powell and Olivia Dean coming to be a part of this show?
The thing is, I'm really glad about the show. Ever since King Princess was on the show in the Will Ferrell episode, which has my favorite has a Cut for Time sketch, is my favorite of all time. The cast list sketch, the Will Ferrell King Princess episode. Ever since then, I've used the show as a great reason to, hear artists that I wouldn't normally listen to, the Brandy Carlisles and whatnot. And coming into this, when I heard it was like Sombr and Olivia Dean, I was like, I felt old, and I realized I'm past the threshold a little bit. And I was like, shoot, like who the fuck are these people? And instead of going into this coverage like wanting to hate and be like, I don't know who this was, I actually listened to quite a few tracks of like both of them, and really I was glad, because I could have not liked it, but I really liked what I heard from both of them. Even though Sombr was just like Eric Foreman in that 70s show, like it was just really nice to like. I mean, think about it, the bell bottoms. I mean, it's giving that 70s show. But like Olivia Dean, I loved what I heard from her. It just reminded me a little bit of when I got to hear Ray a little bit of like, oh, we're gonna hear somebody really, like that's like a really wonderful vocalist and singer. As for Glenn Powell, I'm really glad for this because I feel like I've only seen him in clips, in like little cameos of things, and I've been wanting to watch Anyone But You for the longest time, but I don't have that tier of Netflix that lets you watch it. So I think it just recently got on Hulu and Disney Plus, so I can finally watch this movie 2 years after it come out. To finally watch it, I'm going to see The Running Man this weekend as well. Heather and I really want to see that, so this is good timing because I can finally watch somebody that I've enjoyed little pieces of. Get to watch a couple of his films. So this guy looks like he can do comedy. Like I really love like a white man who can like play goofy. There are the most fun, safe type of white men. Next to the gays. So like this is just a really good, like this is a good time to be white on SNL. Like I'll give it to them. It's a good time. There's some good whites like out there. There's a lot of them. That's why there's so many goddamn country sketches, but like, hey, they're making some funny stuff. So I'll allow it.
Hey, we have great relationships with our moms and we make funny stuff. So that's what's important. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for Glenn Powell and Olivia Dean. I think it's going to be a great episode, and I'm excited to see what the rest of this run will bring. Of course, we will then find out what will kick off December, and we'll have 3 episodes to talk about in December. For the podcast coverage that's coming up, we will be back on Wednesday night, where Mike Murray will host our By the Numbers show and go through all the data from the week, all the screen time, all the important stats that you need to know about this episode from Nikki Glaser and Sombr. And then, of course, I will be here on Saturday night to break down everything after the Glenn Powell and Olivia Dean episode of Saturday Night Live. We will also have on a Wednesday out for our patrons our season 31 episode 5 coverage, and that's our 20 years look back, where Sammy K and I talk about everything from 20 years ago at Saturday Night Live, which includes the debut episode from Kristen Wiig, Jason Lee, and Foo Fighters. That'll be out on Wednesday for our patrons. You can find that at patreon.com/the SNL Network. And for our YouTube members, for the patron exclusive video tier, that will be available on Wednesday. We will also have our sign-up form at the end of the week for our next patron feedback show, which will be airing on the channel in 2 weeks from tonight. So if you ever thought about podcasting about SNL and you want to sign up, join us on Patreon, and that form will be available to you later in the week. Halle, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. I really appreciate getting to catch up with you.
Thank you for having me, John. Even though I sent us on some really interesting conversation topics, everyone here, I need you all to know I'm not insane. Go follow the Siblings Are Dating Instagram account. It's a real thing. I swear I'm not insane.
Oh, I've heard about this. Yeah.
See, I'm just speaking the truth. But thank you for having me, John. This it's a very common game to play. Anyways, besides the point, again, thank you so much for having me. This was such a fun group to talk about this super fun episode with, and it was a great use of time on a Monday night. There's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Oh, thanks, Halle. Jack, so great to get to catch up with you and have you on the show.
Yes, thanks for having me. Always happy to come back. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing who else hosts this until like Christmas or whatever. And I'm happy that we finally said the quiet part out loud about Tina Fey taking over Saturday Night Live. You know, it was like now we said it, you know.
Yeah, it's out there. Yeah. TJ, I appreciate you joining us as well. Anything you would like to say to the listeners?
John, I'm glad I could stop playing Pokemon Legends ZA for just a moment to be on this podcast. You know, stopping playing Pokemon is a very tough thing for me. So just be glad that I like being here. A little recommendation for the listeners. If you enjoyed the Nikki Glaser episode and you want to appreciate this young woman's like journey in comedy, obviously watch all of her specials. But I would also recommend checking out her Comedy Central show, Not Safe with Nikki Glaser. Specifically, if you are into more of like, there is like a lot of like a big like sex angle to like the comedy, like that is the angle of the show. But there's a lot of fun to it. If you like Inside Amy Schumer, you probably will like that show. If you like the Just Will Nook Offensive, it was also kind of around that era. But my recommendations to the listeners, if you want more Nikki Glaser, check out that show. I don't know if it's on DVD, so you might have to pay for it to check it out. But it's something I'm very glad that I am getting a chance to revisit. And little fun fact, they do a bit in that show where there's a phone number you call if you're a friend who has been left behind by somebody who like got into a relationship, and the phone number still works. You can still leave messages on this phone line 9 years later. Heather and I called it the other day, and it was just a fun little gag. So little fun thing if you're a Nikki Glaser fan.
All right. Well, if you want more us, you can subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify to never miss an episode. We invite you to give a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed what you heard tonight. And you can also follow us on social media at the SNL Network, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, to never miss anything we have going on here. I want to thank Late Nighter for being the presenting partner for our show here tonight. Of course, everybody in the live chat for hanging out with us on this Monday, and Halle, Jack, and TJ for joining me on the show with their great commentary. Of course, the show is also brought to you in part by a pinwheel. Yeah, so on behalf of everyone here at the SNN, my name is Jon Schneider, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.